You're absolutely right. The term excellence and inclusion don't belong in the same sentence. Again, some people on this panel have said that there is unequivocal evidence that supports the fact that diverse research or teams leads to better outcomes. It depends, again, how you measure diversity. As I mentioned earlier, if you measure diversity as, for example, interdisciplinarity, then that form of diversity does improve scientific outcomes because you're getting people that have different areas of expertise that are joining together to solve a common problem. But I would challenge anybody on this committee to tell me how whether I am queer or not will help me improve quantum computing. I'm open to hearing that explanation. But until you show me how my sexual orientation affects my understanding of the distribution of prime numbers, I don't think that those metrics affect research excellence, and they should be made null and void.
It's fun. It's like they're talking the way they talk. It's like it's a very specific way of talking. It's cool.
I was going to say that you're going to get me in trouble because I think I mentioned to you last time that the biggest trouble I ever faced was 2 shows ago when I was here. And I made a joke about the French-Canadian accent.
Yes, you did.
So
they get very upset at you.
I am hereby stating that in nature, the most beautiful auditory orgasm is to listen to the French-Canadian accent.
But now they think you're lying because now you're a flip-flopper.
No, I just learned.
You're a flip-flopper. Flip-flopper is a weird one to me because it's like, wait a minute, what do you do when you encounter new information?
That's right.
Don't you change your mind?
What?
Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Pretty excited to bring this video. We had Gad Saad testifying in front of Parliamentary Committee. They're investigating DEI and whether that's a good idea or not. Gad Saad gets into a fight with the Liberals because they're a bunch of DEIs, right? It is very confrontational, but he sets the record straight. I hope you enjoy this. If you know Gad Saad, you'll just enjoy watching this. If you haven't heard this gentleman speak yet, he's testifying in front of committee. It's awesome. Let's enjoy. Yeah, that's him with Charlie Kirk. Yeah, he was friends with him, and he's friends with Joe Rogan, as you just saw. Check this out. He's got a lot to reveal, a lot to say. Let's get into it.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
Mr. Bardinelli, you will have 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for being with us this afternoon. Dr. Saad, I'll begin with you. In your book, The Parasitic Mind, How Infectious Ideas Are Killing Common Sense, you write this. For decades now, a set of idea pathogens, largely stemming from universities, has relentlessly assaulted science, reason, logic, freedom of thought, freedom of speech, individual liberty, and individual dignity. If we want our children and grandchildren to grow up in free societies as we have done, then we have to be assured in our principles and stand ready to defend them. Earlier, we had Dr. Snow discuss some of his concerns. He had mentioned about an activist agenda having been embedded in funding applications, primarily in the social sciences and the humanities. So essentially, you're telling those looking for research to accept the narrative to get the funding. Should science not be about discovery and not accepting the narrative that some government bureaucrat or some university bureaucrat puts forward? And do you agree that we need to change this, and how?
Thank you for that question. Yes, of course, I think that we should change it. Look, the pursuit of truth is a deontological mechanism, meaning you don't say, I believe in truth, but, right? There is no consequentialist ethic when it comes to the wonder of discovery, the wonder of science, right? For example, in soccer, there's only been 8 countries that have won the World Cup, even though there are 200 countries that compete. Should we say that we should create more equitable outcomes? In marathon running, Ethiopia and Kenya have won most of the Boston marathons for the past 35 years. Jews have won nearly 25% of Nobel Prizes, even though they make up 0.2% of the world's population. So there are certain human endeavors that are organized along a meritocratic ethos. Science is one such endeavor, and we should do away with all this diversity, inclusion, and equity stuff because it harms science. I come from a very rough background. If there's ever anybody who's had a victimology story, it's me. And yet I stand before you proud in that I've overcome my rough childhood. I don't need the help of someone to be a dignified individual. That's what makes me meritorious. And I only wish that Canada would readopt that stance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And maybe I'll start with you, Professor Saad, because I really did enjoy your book, The Sad Truth About Happiness. And sometimes in this profession, I think we live in some of those. Times. Listening to you today, I guess one of the questions that came to mind that I'd love if you could share with us is any empirical studies that you can cite that show that diversity initiatives actually harm the quality or objectivity of scientific research.
Thank you for your kind words. It's lovely to hear that people in the committee are reading my work, so thank you for that. I mean, I can certainly try to come. I don't have the citations in front of me, but there is no conceivable reason why diversity along my sexual orientation or my skin color or whether I'm two-spirit or non-binary is going to improve our capacity to map the human genome or better understand the distribution of prime numbers. Science liberates us from the shackles of our personal identities. It's an epistemological tool that democratizes our capacity to seek science. So by definition, science should be free of all that stuff. But if you want references, I can certainly try to whip some up for you.
I would love some, because in looking at the empirical data that I have seen, it shows that diverse teams tend to produce more innovative and higher impact research. And that's evidence. So, that evidence means something. And so I'm trying to understand what the methodological problem there would actually be.
So you're right that there is some metrics of diversity that improve research quality. So, for example, interdisciplinarity, where you're getting diverse expertise joining together to solve a problem, does lead to better outcomes. Some of the biggest and most important breakthroughs in science come at the intersections of disciplines. So interdisciplinary diversity does improve science. Whether on my team I have people that are exclusively homosexual or heterosexual or self-identify as Latinx or not, does not help me solve the distribution of prime numbers. It almost seems laughable that in the 21st century, I would have to make that point. So intellectual diversity does improve science. All of the other metrics of diversity don't.
Okay, so onto the basis of meritocracy, a lot of what you're saying is meritocracy should trump all. And as somebody who has spent most of my life making sure people didn't identify me or promote me or put me in positions because of my religion, my name, the color of my skin, et cetera, I'm a big believer in meritocracy. One of the challenges, though, that we've seen in Canada and in other parts of the world is that it's much harder to measure merit in systems where access to education, to funding and networks has historically been unequal. So how do we overcome that so that you are, in fact, getting exactly what you said, which is the widest diversity of viewpoints, such that you were able to do high-quality research?
Thank you. That's a great question. That's the tension between, which I'm sure you're familiar with, equality of outcomes and equality of opportunities. Any time that we find that there are lacking equality of opportunities, then we should intervene and try to solve these, right? 100 years ago, we didn't have women in medical schools. Today, we have more women than men. 100 years ago, most universities were populated by men. Now, at the bachelor's, master's, and doctoral level in the United States, women outnumber men across 5 racial categories. So wherever we see that there are truly systemic barriers to entry for any group, then we need to eradicate those. But that doesn't come from saying that only queer people who are non-binary get to be a professor of artificial intelligence at the University of Waterloo. I mean, imagine how insane that makes us look globally. Artificial intelligence is one of the hottest areas. One of the elite universities in Canada is going to choose its chaired professors based on whether they are Latinx or queer.
So let's just dig into this piece of it, because I want to make sure that what we're not saying is that, and maybe we are, I don't know, I mean, I'd love to hear from you and then Professor Coffin, for depending on how much time I have. Are we saying that by having diverse academics or people that are hired where those criteria also exist, that we are abandoning the merit principle? And if so, has research quality, research outcomes actually diminished because more diverse people have entered academia?
If the manner by which we've achieved diversity within those research groups stems from non-meritocratic ethos, then by definition, the quality of the research goes down. I wouldn't mind if every one of my postdocs were two-spirit, if they are the best people possible. If none of them are two-spirit, so be it.
But I guess my question more is, though, are you seeing that academic outcomes and research is diminished because those types of individuals who come from quote-unquote equity-seeking backgrounds are now producing research, or is the research quality the same or better?
I mean, I don't have the empirical evidence, but surely we can just argue it philosophically, right? I mean, how could it be that University of Waterloo is looking for chaired professors in artificial intelligence based on the gender orientation of the computer scientists?
No, my question is more, have you seen evidence, have you seen examples of where people have been hired to do high-quality research that are less good because diversity criteria were applied?
I mean, I couldn't give personal anecdotes because I don't use those metrics. As a matter of fact...
Sorry for interrupting. Time is up.
I didn't have my translation thing on, but I speak fluent French, so no problem. Of course, it affects the trust that the public has in us, right? I mean, I've sat on committees, on SHIRK committees for graduate funding, where every single grant application in important fields in the social sciences is about queering this and indigenizing that. How could that make sense? I teach evolutionary psychology and psychology of decision-making. What does it mean to indigenize and decolonize the study of psychology of decision-making? It's absolutely laughable, right? Science liberates me from my sexual orientation. It liberates me from my skin color. It liberates me from my sexual orientation. That's what makes science beautiful. So of course the trust of the public and the taxpayer is damaged when we allow these parasitic ideas to infect our university ecosystems. It's grotesque. It's tragic. Of all this diversity, inclusion, equity stuff in the United States, certainly the election of Donald Trump has accelerated that. I see no autocorrection taking place in Canada. If anything, I see the doubling down of all of the parasitic nonsense in Canada. Again, I can't cite you specific empirical studies that point one way or to the other, but again, science is a fully meritocratic thing. Nobody gives a damn about your identity markers. The best people should be doing the best science, period. As a matter of fact, I've taken a leave from Concordia University, and I'm currently at the University of Mississippi at a center that is rooted in American freedom, precisely for that reason. I stopped applying for research grants and applying for a chaired professorship in 2018 because I wasn't willing to play the game of doing a diversity, inclusion, and equity statement. I can't be the guy who wrote the parasitic mind and then when nobody is looking, play along. And so I've not had any research funds for 7 years. I've now left to the United States precisely because of all these parasitic ideas. So if you could imagine that both myself and Professor Kaufman have left, you could imagine that many other people who should be staying in Canada will decide to go elsewhere where they can pursue their research free of identity markers. I quoted this in my opening remarks. It's 97.5% of job applications, academic job applications, have DEI as a central feature of the application. Again, that is grotesque. I know for a fact that at one point I was applying for a renewal of my chaired professorship. I held a university-wide chair for 10 years at Concordia. When it came time to reapply, someone told me confidentially that, sorry, we couldn't give it to you, even though you would be easily deserving of it because it had to go to a woman. How do you think that makes me feel? I worked 32 years as a professor. I lose because I don't ovulate. Does that strike you as fair? Research granting process or in the job application process, even the tenure decision has been fully parasitized by all of this nonsense. There was a professor at UBC that didn't get tenure because she hadn't published much. She then went ahead to the Human Rights Tribunal and argued that she is indigenous and she comes from an oral tradition. So, forcing her to write things as a publication went against her culture. Imagine that this is something that the Human Rights Tribunal actually listens. It's unbelievable. And the quicker we get now, look, I want to live in a bigot-free society. I come from Lebanon, where I faced a lot of bigotry. So I understand what bigotry is. But the way to solve bigotry is not to impose reverse bigotry. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? For example, professors, as Professor Kaufman said, don't usually hire anybody that has any political position that is contrary to theirs. That's why in some disciplines, and these studies have been done, and I can share you those references, in the activist social sciences, you are more likely to run into a unicorn than to run into a Republican or conservative sociologist. You're more likely to run into a horse that has wings than to run into a Republican psychologist. That's not a good thing. There are very good ideas on the left. There are very good ideas on the right. Our students would benefit from hearing the totality of ideas.
30 seconds. You mentioned that DEI is an affront of individual dignity. So I was just wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit more, and whether you agree that DEI is a form of government-sponsored top-down ideology.
I mean, absolutely. What greater manifestation of ideological top-down stuff than DEI, right? I mean, I present myself to the world as Gad Saad. Part of me being Gad Saad is I have green eyes. Part of me being Gad Saad is I come from Lebanon. Part of me being Gad Saad is I'm a certain height. I've got some merits. I've got some faults. So I am an individual, and I ask you to judge me as an individual first. The reason why I love science is because when I do my science, I'm trying to discover something interesting about the world. And that phenomenon that I'm studying exists independently of my identity. That's what makes science beautiful. It liberates us from our shackles. So that's what I mean when I say it's an affront to individual dignity. All of the members of this committee are worthy individuals because they are individuals. So I'm first Gad Saad, and then I'm a member of a group. So nothing could be worse than to create collective tribalism in the pursuit of science.
Well, thank you. And we've seen DEI essentially replace meritocracy and this liberal top-down ideology in federal research, and which is, by the way, funded by taxpayers. So it's essentially a government-sponsored ideology that's being implemented onto our public institutions. So, do you think that this has an effect of censoring academic freedoms and has the effect of being reverse discriminatory on groups that are considered not adhering to DEI?
It has a huge effect on censorship. The most dangerous censorship is self-censorship. So I receive thousands of emails that always say the exact same thing. Dear Professor Saad, there's a bunch of compliments, and at the end it's, if you decide to read this email on your show, please don't mention my name. And the person who writes it is a postdoc, is a doctoral student, is a professor, all of whom are happy that I have the courage to say what I say. They would love to say it, but they know that if they do, they will lose their position in the lab, they will lose their position for funding, and so on and so forth. This is not Yemen. This is not North Korea. This is not communist China. This is happening in Canada and the United States. Wow. This is grotesque.
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to basics. DEI is supposed to be something, purportedly supposed to create a fair, inclusive, and an environment that's supposed to address historical marginalizations, but it sounds like it's creating the opposite effect. It's unfair, it's exclusionary, and it's actually marginalizing those who have differing viewpoints, which again goes against the purpose of academic research, is the pursuit of knowledge creation. Would you agree that this is affecting Canadians' trust in public institutions? We've seen the lack of public trust by Canadians in public institutions at an all-time low, and it's no coincidence that it's after 10 years of liberal top-down ideology being implemented on public institutions. So do you think it hurts our reputation globally?
Of course it does, right? I mean, one of the reasons why I've been able to build the I'm thankful to have built such a large platform, is because the message that I share with the wider audience is one that resonates with people, right? So when I exist in the rarefied ivory tower, then I'm viewed as a pariah, right? Because I don't say the things that I'm supposed to say. But the larger audience, the trucker, the corrections officer, the police officer, they're all writing to me and saying, oh my God, I wish my son or daughter had you as a professor. Look, being a professor is a privilege. It's a place where you can be a free thinker. The reality, though, it's an Orwellian, Kafkaesque world where everybody is afraid to utter one syllable out of place, lest they might be fired or somebody might find out that they don't love Justin Trudeau or that they love Donald Trump. This is not what we want in our academics. We want them to be free thinkers.
And this liberal government is doubling down, it sounds like. It's actually making it even worse. So what has DEI actually achieved? What do you think? Has it destroyed more than it's actually built?
I mean, 1,000%, right? I could show you tons of emails where someone wrote to me saying, I was thinking of going to academia, but I know that I am...
Sorry for interrupting. Time is up for Mr. Hu.
You're absolutely right. The term excellence and inclusion don't belong in the same sentence. Again, some people on this panel have said that there is unequivocal evidence that supports the fact that diverse research or teams leads to better outcomes. It depends, again, how you measure diversity. As I mentioned earlier, if you measure diversity as, for example, interdisciplinarity, then that form of diversity does improve scientific outcomes because you're getting people that have different areas of expertise that are joining together to solve a common problem. But I would challenge anybody on this committee to tell me how whether I am queer or not will help me improve quantum computing. I'm open to hearing that explanation. But until you show me how my sexual orientation affects my understanding of the distribution of prime numbers, I don't think that those metrics affect research excellence, and they should be made null and void. People who've written to me who thought, hey, should I come to Canada? I've read your stuff, Professor Saad. I've read your material. Is it as bad as people say that it is? I say, look, there are wonderful things in Canada. There are amazing researchers in Canada. But yes, we are an ultra woke country. We do suffer from stage 4 suicidal empathy. And if you are white, if you are heterosexual, if you are Christian, well, good luck, because you're going to be behind the 8 ball. Those are not words that I should ever be uttering. Anybody should be able to participate in the democratic pursuit of science.
All right, we're going to wrap it up right there. Gad Saad, nobody says it better. His books are amazing. The Sad Truth About Happiness and the Parasitic Mind really did change the way I think. He's amazing. And he set those liberals straight, right? Like, share, subscribe. My name's Aaron, Canadian Looney. Come back, watch another video. We'll catch you in the next one, gang. Thanks for watching.